Hello and good evening and welcome to Likutey Moharan Shir, Torah Chaf Daled. We are in the middle of paragraph 6 of Vav. The whole Torah, as we said, is dealing with an ascension, entry into a state that will enable us to perceive the light, which is beyond the faculties of nefesh, ruach, and shama, which means it's a light of Hashem Yitbarach, which has no boundaries. And that kind of light can only be perceived as like you get it and you don't get it. Like you get it and you don't get it. That's the only way to get it. But even that, even being able to perceive it in getting it and not getting it, the way to do it, it requires a steady climb. Visiting the rungs of the different sefirot, of all the spiritual worlds that are from where we are, which is the world of Asiya, the world of doing. Above us, we have the world of formation, which is the world of the angels. And above that, we have the world of creation, which is the world of the throne, as it were. And above that, we have the uppermost world, which is the realm of emanation. The level of emanation is where there really is nothing except godliness, pure godliness. But in that realm, there are already faculties and lights that fill them. Everything in the world is made out of the light, which is the essence, and the keli, which is the vessel that contains it and enables it to exist in a quote-unquote real world. It defines it. So now we're talking about a light which is above Olam Atzilus. It's above anything that the Ruach, Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama can perceive. So we have to start where we are. So we said we're starting by performing the mitzvot with joy. The mitzvot themselves are the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but when you want to start climbing, you have to imbue the mitzvot, the commandments, with their neshama. Everything in the world is contained of a body and a soul of sorts. Even a theoretical idea has a body and a soul. So the mitzvahs themselves, when you do them b'simcha, it means that the malchus, that's the lowest rung, goes up and envelops the triad of sefirot above them, which is Netzach Hod Yesod, victory, glory, or in foundation, which are the raglaim, which are the legs. Then the mitzvah now have legs. In other words, the mitzvah can move. The mitzvah goes ahead and excites all the realms, all the upper realms, everything, everybody, every single creation. It had to avodas Hashem. When a person does a mitzvah b'simcha. Now that you have the legs go ahead and excite all the organs. And when you do that, then you initiate blessings coming down. And the blessing comes from the hands. We said the Kabbalistic expression of this is that Netzach Hod Yesod go up and envelop the Chesed Gvura Tiferes. This is the right hand, the left hand, and the trunk. The blessings come from the hands. The hands are the things that give, and the hands are the things that receive. The trunk is the thing that enables the hand to do all that. So this is where the brachas come. Now, the main bracha that comes from above in its purest form is intellect. Intellect is the raw material out of which everything, every blessing is made of. Because if a person has a tremendous amount of plenty, of bounty, but it doesn't have the seicha, doesn't have the faculties to use it properly, not only is it not a blessing, it's a curse. You can see people that are very wealthy, or they're very wealthy and are very famous, and this thing comes to them in one fell swoop. They're not used to it. They go nuts. So when people work very, very hard for the money, they're very, very busy and they're very, very diligent. So that keeps them in line. But many times their children, if there is a gap between the parents, the rich parents, and the children afterwards just have all the money, but they don't have the faculties, the seichel, the intelligence to use it, in a constructive manner. And so they go ahead. How many Ferraris or Lamborghinis can you get? How many yachts can you buy? How many mansions can you buy? What are you going to do with all that? I mean, it's nonsense. So the main bracha, everything is made out of, in order for any kind of bounty to be a blessing, it's when it comes with seichel, when it comes with the proper necessary intelligence to utilize whatever the shefa comes from. Now, with that said, nevertheless, the main blessing that people should seek is not to have a tremendous amount of money and the sense to use it wisely. The main bracha they should seek is the true wisdom itself. And this is the real blessing. Because when you elevate yourself, when you ascend to the level of wisdom, you're Lamaisa becoming one with the Kadosh Baruch Hu at your level. So when you do this is when the Chesed Gvura Tiferes, the kindness, might, and glory, they envelop the levels of Chochmah Bina Das, wisdom, comprehension, and knowledge. So now you have reached a level where you have the wisdom, you have the knowledge. But nevertheless, this is only the beginning of your journey, because you only know what there is to know on your level of knowing. But on the level beyond that, you haven't even started. We're dealing here with a wisdom when the Kadosh Baruch Hu is, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu's wisdom is all one thing. And the Kadosh Baruch Hu's wisdom is endless, which means that I don't care how wise you are, you haven't started. And in order to be able to keep on climbing, you have to have emunah. You have to have faith that you haven't even started and your journey has just begun. This is when the Malchus, which is the emunah from the world above Asiya. You finished Asiya, okay. Now you're going to the world above Asiya, which is the Yitzir, which is the formation, world of formation. And you bring emunah from that world above yours into your Chochmah Bina Das. You're introducing emunah as part and parcel with your wisdom. Your wisdom is not, okay, now I got it, and watch me, I'm the new King Kong. That's not what this is about. But I got what I got, but with it, I got the wisdom of emunah that I haven't even started yet. And this is the action Kabbalistically, B'chinas Malchus di Yitzira. This is the lowest level of the world above us, the world of Yitzira formation, which is emunah. Nasa mimena chochma bina das de'asiyah. It comes down and it forms the chochma bina das of our world. In other words, once we are able to achieve chochma bina das in our world, we're able to pull down the emunah from the world above us. And now our chochma bina das are no longer a culmination of check me out, how smart I am. Now our chochma bina das are themselves a keli to hold the emunah from the world beyond. That is our wisdom. Our wisdom, our new wisdom now is emunah. And even when we keep on growing, the light of the malchus, of the emunah, the world above us, remains in olam ha'asiyah, defines the olam ha'asiyah. In other words, the pinnacle of olam ha'asiyah, of the world of doing, is, you would say, okay, wisdom, obviously, that's the first one. No, when emunah comes from the world above that. Now, there are two types of emunah. There's emunah, there's faith, that leads you to wisdom. Obviously, the wisdom is higher than the emunah that enables that wisdom. But once you reach that wisdom, now you're getting faith and emunah, which is above the seichel, it's above your intellect. Then now you're already believing in things which are way beyond your capacity to understand. Now you're ready to continue. And now he says as follows: in the pnimius sabircha, in the very inner level of the blessing of the seichel that comes to a person. Shuhu dakus sabircha. This is the sophistication, the very fine of the bracha of the seichel. Nisbarach mem hamesadav hamyashav esasechel. In other words, without getting too deep into the Kabbalistic meaning of what is the fine level of the birchan, what we're talking about is that on the inside of the bracha of the seichel that we got, that the person achieved, he doesn't just get new understanding. He gets something which seems contradictory, but nevertheless is the thing that enables him to keep on moving. And what it is, he gets boundaries. He gets a boundary. There's a block that stops the seichel from just continuing to expand. And what that particular boundary does, it puts everything that you know and everything that you understand into order. There are plenty of extremely intelligent people that, because they don't have this boundary, this discipline over their seichel, and that boundary that is supplied by the emunah, if they don't have this boundary, so they go ahead and they keep on inventing and inventing and inventing, and everything ends up, if it doesn't end up blowing up the entire world, it ends up blowing society to smithereens. So we have all this incredible technology, and anybody can speak to anybody face to face from any place in the world to any place in the world. But there's no boundary. And because of no boundary, things become so messed up. Now you have a machine that you can enmesh yourself with that machine to the point that you don't have a life anymore. You live inside the machine. You know, when in the olden days we'll pick up, somebody was hitching a ride. They would sit by you and they would talk. You would talk, you would listen, you would whatever. Today, not only did they come into the car and they sit and looking at their phone, there's no connection. There's no connection to the world at all. In fact, when they're hitching the ride, they're on the phone. They're not even paying attention to you. I don't know if you ever seen driving in the street, somebody, lifting their finger to stop a ride, and they have a phone. In other words, they're not asking you for a ride. They're really into the talking on the phone, and you happen to be somebody supposed to serve them. Once they're in the car, there's nothing what to talk about. People are into their phones all the time. Phones, computers. So here you got somebody who extremely talented, that created the computer and created the software, created this, created that, but there's no boundaries. Boundaries can only be set by emunah. Because unless you have emunah, unless you believe in something, why should you set boundaries? What will set boundaries? When you believe that something is right and something is wrong, that set the boundaries. The boundaries are the things that allow your talents, your wisdom, to be used effectively and progressively, constructively. So this is what you get when the emunah comes into the seichel. You get a blessing, a true blessing of the boundary. So from this, nisbarach hamisadev hamiyashav esaseichel, that what is being blessed is the power to put order and to settle down that intellect. Shehi b'chinas keser. This is the sphera of keser, of the crown. In other words, together with the birkas hasechel that comes to a person from the sphere chokhmah bina das, we're also getting together with it an inner light from the sphere of the keser, which is beyond our world. This is the thing that puts order, limitation, and yishuv hadas into the seichel. זה בחינת והקדוש ברוך הוא said to יצחק אבינו, ויהיה עמכו ואברכך, and I will be with you, and I will bless you. This pasuk, Al Pi Pshat, the simple meaning of this pasuk is, I'll be with you and I will bless you. But in this pasuk, the name Aleph, K, Yud K, which means I will be with you, is one of the names of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's one of the holy names, and that's the name that belongs to the sphere of the Keser. Moshe Rabbeinu asked HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when Jewish people will ask me, what is his name? What is Hashem's name? What should I tell him? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells him, tell him, Eke has sent me. That which I will be, Aleph K Yud K has sent me. Eke asher Eke. I will be that which I will be. It's the name of the Keser. So when HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Yitzchak, the Keser, which is represented by the word Aleph K Yud K, be with you and give you the blessing. Together with the blessing, you will get the Keser. It means that the Kodesh Baruch Hu said to Yitzchak Azbinu that he will bestow upon him, together with all the blessings you'll get, because the sechel that you'll bless him, also the light of the sphera of the Keser that controls, that harnesses the blessing of the sechel. Now, to further understand what is the meaning of that, the proof that the light of spheres HaKeser is the thing that settles down the intellect. So Ki Keser in Hebrew is also Lashonam Tona, is can be understood from the point of view of waiting. Moshe Kosov Kateli Ze'er, wait a little bit for me and I'll tell you. So Kater means wait for a little while and I'll tell you. And this is and what kind of waiting? What is this waiting? What is the waiting supposed to do here? When you ask a person a certain kind of advice, a certain kind of piece of wisdom, wait out until, let me consider this, let me weigh it, and I'll be able to give you an answer that will supply to you what it is that you need. This is done through the light that comes from the Keser. The Gam Sham, also in that faculty of stopping the expansion, Tzarech Emunah, you also need Emunah. Bivchinos, as it says on the Keser, Amun Mufla. It means that Amun in the Mufla, which is the Keser, because Chochmah is what you can understand. Keser is above the Chochmah. So what does it mean? It means you can't understand it, which means it's wondrous. Mufla means wondrous. It's Amun Mufla. The wondrous is filled with Emunah, with Amun, with Emunah. And this, V'zeh B'china Shebipnimius Chesed Gvura Tiferes, that from the inside of the Chesed Gvura Tiferes, and also Pnimius Malchus the Yetzira, also the inner essence of the Malchus the Yetzira, Nase Keser de Asiya. This altogether creates the spheres of Keser of other Masya, which means that we know that every world, every blockchain of 10 spheroids, when it ends in Chochmah Bin Adas, above that there is another sphere which is called Keser. When you count the Keser, you don't count spheres Adas. In a way, they are sort of parallel to one another. To understand a little bit of what does it mean, what does the Keter mean, we explained that the spheres of what is, let's say, how the spheres are expressed in our relationship, what we learned today. So if we take the whole block of spheres of Chochmah, Bina, Das, that's the intellect, and afterwards come the midos, the vessels, the faculties, the tools, as it were, of Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, Chod, Yesod, and Malchus. These are 10 spheres. So let's quickly review what they mean. And then we'll be able to understand what the Kesser is. Chochmah, Bina, Das, in, let's say, in this particular share, when I'm giving the information over to you, Chochmah is the fact, that particular knowledge that I'm giving over, that wisdom that I'm giving over, that wisdom is beyond me, and it exists, as one fisted, undifferentiated piece of wisdom, and the wisdom is still there in a state of possibility. That's why it's called Chochmah. Chochmah is the letters of Koyach Ma, which means the what is in the level of Koyach, is the level of potential. Together with it comes the Bina. Bina, that's all we can call it data. Okay? That's the raw data. Chochmah is the data. Then comes the level of the Bina. Bina is comprehension. That's the ability that you call the logical system that enables me to process the raw data into, with the system, into something which is productive, so I can understand what's going on with it. When the Chochmah, when the data goes through the logical system of the Bina, what it produces is the Das. That's applied logic. Okay, if the logical system took the raw data, and now I have the applied logic. Now I have the knowledge. I already know in my faculties what in the Chochmah it was just raw data. I wasn't able to truly understand and truly know what was in it, unless it went through the system of the Bina. And as we said, let's say in music, so the 8 notes of the octave is the Chochmah. That's the raw data. The Bina is the musical theory. The Das would be the song. Okay? Because the 8 notes of the octave include in them all the songs in the world, but they're still in raw state. It has to go through the Bina, and the Bina together with the Chochmah, it produces the Das. All this is happening in my head. Now that I'm going to explain this to you, I have to be willing to share it with you. That's the midah of chesed, the willingness to give, the willingness to open the faucets. On the other hand, I have another tool, which is the left. From the left side is the gvura, the might. That's the ability to control the flow, the ability to shut off the faucets. This is very, very important. Because the third level underneath them of the first triad is Tiferes, is glory. This is when the chesed, how much to open the faucets, and the gvura, how much to close them, is calibrated in accordance to the capacity of the receiver to receive. You can very easily drown people with too much information. Or you can leave them starving and bored by not enough information. That calibration, this Tiferes is still something, this is something that happens by me. It still has to do with me. So the Chochmat Bin Adas is the way that I understand what I'm telling you. Chesed Gvura Tiferes is, my own kalim of how do I calibrate, the flow. I'm opening up, I'm willing to talk. I apply holding things back, not putting too much into it, and calibrating it so that you can understand it. Now come the legs, as it were. That's the Netzach Hod Yesod. These are the intermediaries between me and you. It still has to do with me, but it's already very, very intimately connected to who you are and what you bring to the table. The Netzach is my ability to enforce, to prove what I'm saying in an undeniable fashion. Chesed is the right side. Gvura is the left side. Tiferes is the middle. Netzach is the right side. Hod is the left side. And again, the Yesod is in the middle. So that means that Netzach, my ability to quote unquote steamroll you, prove to you beyond that you can't argue, comes from the right side, comes from the Chesed. How come? Because the Netzach comes from Chesed, but there is Gvura mixed into it. The way that it is done is by giving more proof. But the Gvura is the approach. It's aggressive. It's steamrolling. But it has to be there because people come with their own opinions. Their mind is made up. And unless you're able to actually enforce, what that particular discipline is, what their wisdom is, they can come up with their own theories and figure, I can just create my own learning like somebody who creates an artwork. I can, just fantasize all over the place. It doesn't work that way. I need to have the ability to say, stop here. What you're saying, what you bring to the table does not cut mustard. This is not what it is. This is what it is. If you want to learn, you have to accept that. On the other hand, you have from the left side the sphere of Hod. Hod also comes from the word Hoidah, means admission. Hod it's from the left side. It comes from me holding back. It's the left side, it's Gvura that has Chesed in it. It means I'm holding back, I'm not giving. But the approach is Chesed because the goal of holding back in Hod is to allow you to grow. Because if I keep on just forcing you to learn by heart everything that they say, you might be able to parrot it, but you won't grow unless you're allowed to grow into it, make your own mistakes, and find your way around it. So Netzach and Hod are the interaction spheres. That's between me and you. On one hand, I have to be able to enforce certain knowledge. On the other hand, I have to be able to hold back, to enable you to grow, to enable you to have your own personality there. So there can be a relationship in there. The culmination is the Yesod. The Yesod is the affection that exists between me and you. If I like you, I have enjoyment out of teaching you. If you like me, you are enjoying to learn from me. The more we like each other, the more knowledge can pass between you and me. The teacher that you like the most is the teacher that you can learn from the most. The Malchus is the recipient. The Malchus is you. You are the one who receives everything. But it's not just a passive reception. Malchus is very special. Malchus concretizes all that knowledge that you, let's say, that you received from me. It has two remarkable abilities. A, it is able to hold that knowledge that you got. Not just hold it, but make it concrete. When you listen and you understand whatever it is you said, and it was given to you properly, it allowed you to grow, it has created within you a version of that particular knowledge which is unique to you. And not only that you're able to hold it, but it is able to give forth something which is much more perfect than the knowledge that came from me. Meaning, you hear what I'm saying, you digest it according to your faculties, and you build something new from it, which is all yours. You grow. So these are the 10 sefirot. Sometimes the 10 sefirot are not counted like chesed, chochmah gvura da, chochmah bina das, but what is counted is keser chochmah bina. And then the das is not counted. What is this keter doing there? Keter is a rather miraculous thing. At one time, it is at once something that includes all the 10 sefirot that come underneath it. And on the other hand, it does not belong to 10 sefirot at all. It still belongs to the world of infinity. That sounds like something very theoretical and as if it doesn't mean much. But if we'll give it an example, we'll be able to understand. The Keser is the invitation that was sent out for this Zoom shir. That invitation is the Keser. What does it mean? It means that within that invitation was inherent, totally undifferentiated, totally unseen, every single word that this shir contains. It was an invitation to this shir, to this lesson. So it actually, in a very abstract way, it contains everything that the shir is about. All these 10 sefirot. On the other hand, it is not this shir. It's something that came before the shir. If you look at the invitation and try to discern the words of the shir, you won't find it there. You have to go into the shir itself. That's why the Keser is called, it contains all the spheres, and it's beyond all the spheres, all in the same time. But the Keser still belongs to the shir. The Malchus of the world above, together with the Chochmah Bina Das of the world below, create the Keser. The Keser is that guardian that doesn't allow for the material that is being given over from spreading all over the place and doing things, bringing results that should not be brought up, should not be brought about. I'm sorry. So this is where the Kesser comes into being. This is a very, very, very fundamental Indian to understand, because all growth, intellectual, artistic, or whatever it is, comes from two movements which operate one against the other. Meaning you have a power that expands, and you have a barrier that blocks it. And it is that interrelationship between the power and the block that enable the harnessing of the power and doing something productive from it. An example, the engine of a car. Inside, I don't know about electric engines, but the engines of old, the engines of chemical fuel. What happens is the inside the chamber, you have gasoline and oxygen and air mixed together. What happens is that that's being ignited. In other words, inside the cylinder of the engine, there's an explosion. Now, explosion, as we know, is an unbridled burst of energy. But that burst of energy occurs within very carefully designed confines, and that these confines are the Kesser. What happens is that it has a cylinder. The explosion drives the cylinder down, and that cylinder is designed in such a way that it will drive the crankshaft and will take that raw explosion of the exploding gasoline and will create and drive it into the wheels so the car can drive. Any kind of machinery, any mechanical machinery, and I assume also electronic, I'm not well versed with that. Any kind of mechanical movement is made out of a driving energy and a resistance. And the design of the resistance, of the resisting system, is such that allows for the harnessing of the expanding energy and tunnels it towards a productive result. You can't be productive with just explosion. You can't be productive with just a boundary. The marriage of the energy and the boundary is the thing that actually allow for constructive and effective growth. At the Shem, we will stop right here. To be continued in Hashem. Hashem should help us next week. I want to wish you, that Hashem, a good Chodesh, and that Hashem will be zeichet to have this month in the future to be a month of Simcha. We have kind of Tammuz is not an easy month, and Av is not an easy month. But Hashem, everything should be, a good Chodesh for you and for me and for Klal Yisrael. Hashem, Vias Mashiach Tzidkenu B'Korov Mamish.